Very good day, students. This is Professor KVH here. I'm just bringing the concept of constructivism, especially in the language of teaching. So let me take one example, the same for the constructivism on English language. So when we start to think about the language of English, of course we can say that it is said to be the world's most important language, having the very communicative and educative value as it provides access to knowledge, power and material possessions. Various commissions from time to time have highlighted the very importance of English language, especially the Radhakrishnan University Education Commission 1948 pointed out that under sentimental urges we give up, especially in English, and we would outcome from the living stream of ever growing knowledge. And even Kothari Commission, as in 1964, in its report, stressed that the English would play a vital role in higher education as an important as a library language. Of late, National Education Commission, that is NEC 2007, considered that this language as an important determinant of access to higher education, employment possibility and even the social opportunities. And moreover, with the growing importance of the computers in every field, that English language has received a very further boost. Even UNO, that is United Nations of Organization, in the year of 1945, as it gave the status of the official language inter alia ambesteri. Especially for keeping in the view of the importance of that language of English, according to the viewpoint of the constructivism, that the need of the hour is that the English language is to be taught at different level educational system through very new approaches of teaching, so as to make our students active learners. Well, now the concept, especially on constructivism. So constructivism is an innovative strategy in which actually the students construct their knowledge themselves through especially interaction with each other on the basis of the very previous experiences, as it's student-centered rather than the teacher-centered, in which the teacher acts as a facilitator. Because in my last period, when I was discussing about the syllabus copy of English language, I just told that the teacher is a facilitator. So that constructivism considered that the knowledge is not the thing that can be simply given by the teacher at the front of the room, especially to students in their desks. Rather, knowledge is constructed by the learner through an active mental process of development, because learners are the builders and even the creators of meaning and knowledge. So it is based on interest, general and specific abilities, attitudes, achievement, aspirations and even motivations of students. See what happens when we discuss about the same these strategies, that is called very specially based on this constructivism, that this strategy offers flexibility, motivation, adaptation, creativity and even versatility for the teacher and even the students. It encourages students to learn through personal experiences along with others, help the very suitable learning material. Because of these salient features of constructivism, if these strategies freer to use in English teaching and learning, definitely learning on the part of the students will be more enjoyable, and it will remove hesitation, especially hesitation in the classroom learning condition, and develop confidence among students during the communication in English, as it is an arrangement in which the students work in mixed ability, that is groups, and are rewarded on especially your ability, that is the basis of the success of the group as the whole. That means we're not one. So now the question is, what is the historical perspective of the constructivism? Because we know that when actually it's a question of a psychology, we can understand that this is the part of Jean Piaget. Jean Piaget, that is 1896 to 1980, because it is a total the period of Piaget. He's defined the very accommodation and even the assimilation on the same chapter. And the learning theory of the constructivism evolved from the extensive study of the cognitive development by first Swiss psychologist Jean Piaget. That is what I told. Piaget is from Swiss, that's called Switzerland. And the second developer, especially for the social concept, that is the Russian psychologist Lev Vygotsky, that is in 1896 to 1934, his time is. And the studies of development provided the foundation for especially the psychological theory of the constructivism. Because I think you would have seen maybe in your psychology period, maybe one of your teacher has actually maybe defined the very total concept of the constructivism. But actually for the space bar for language of English, I am here to at least bring the words about the constructivism as in brief. Now the question is, constructivism believe that the children develop knowledge through active participation in the learning. And the Piaget defined that the accommodation and even the assimilation as ways for new knowledge to build upon previous knowledge. Because we can easily say that it's a very scoring of the total past experience of your learning. In general, we can say that. Actually, it focused on helping students to construct the meaning on their own rather than they having authority figure. It's called transmit information to them. And even for especially in 20th century, we can say that their understanding of the whole world with the help of the constructivism, because nowadays this becomes a very popular concept, especially in the classroom, the constructivism. The same perhaps of John Dewey 1859. Actually, the period of the John Dewey is from 1859 to 1952. He proposed that the education should work with the students' current understanding, taking into account their prior ideas and even interest. And Vygotsky, especially he said that he placed the more importance on the social context of the learning. How actually the constructivism is interpreted and whether the learning strategies account for individual and social diversity are issues that gain very limited attention during the curriculum development. So therewith I can say that this is all about, because many studies have been conducted in the field of constructivism since it came into practice. Is called in the field of especially education, because what a study actually it's conducted maybe, I don't know, actually I have not taken the proper name. Maybe he's a very the student from Russia, I think. I don't know actually what he is, but I just remember that year 1999 a study was conducted by him and compared learning achievement of the two groups of elementary school students. And the researcher actually he found that the student who learned through social constructivist approaches to education and even took a standardized test secured higher grades than their counterparts who actually were instructed traditionally in the classroom. Because I think he might be a very follower of Vygotsky, because it's a social learning, I'm just telling. So the students' participation in the such project enhanced their academic performance as well. Actually, what he defined finally. So the assumption of the constructivism, now the part is actually, the following assumption of the constructivism theory, learning is a personal interpretation of the world. Second one is called learning is an active process in which the meaning is developed on the basis of experience. The third one is called learning should be situated in a realistic setting. Testing should be integrated with a task and not a separate activity. The fourth one is called conceptual growth comes from the negotiation of meaning, the sharing of multiple, the perspective and the changing of our internet. It's called representation through collaborative learning. So now the question is, I just completed the part of the description. And now the types of constructivism. So the cognitive constructivism, the first call is cognitive constructivism, just what I just told. It is the part of Piaget. It's based on beliefs, previous knowledge, values and self-concept and individual constructs his understanding of the world around him, as I told earlier. This type of constructivism, especially by Piaget's work, and he advocates that that knowledge is constructed by mapping external reality, and he was not interested in knowing only the right answer to question. Rather, he was more inclined to find out how did the student arrive at a particular answer, or how actually the information is interpreted and even the processed by the learner. He concluded that the children's plays were an important part in their intellectual development. So theory of the cognitive constructivism was very pioneered by Jean Piaget, very mastermind of this theory of learning, because this theory is also known as genetic epistemology. So let me discuss about the concept, the key components as below. The first one is called schemas. According to the Piaget, an individual has his own previous knowledge and the pattern of behavior when he deals with the objects, individuals and the situation in life. These are called schemas. For example, a child may have a very schema about a type of animal such as a dog. If the child's sole experience has been with the small dogs, a child might believe that all dogs are small, furry and have 4 legs. Suppose then that all the child encounters an enormous dog, that the child will take in this new information, modifying that the previously existing schema to include these new observations. Now the second part is called assimilation. So it means to adjust the new information in the existing schemas in the mind. So this concept of Piaget comes into operation when the child uses his schema already present in his mind over a new problem, subject or situation. So the third concept is called accommodation. So it means to enhance in the existing schemas to fit in the new ideas. So this concept of Piaget comes into operation when the old schema does not work and the child has to adjust the new with the old. So the fourth one is called, I told that, equilibration. Piaget believed that all children try to strike a balance between the assimilation and accommodation, which is achieved through a mechanism that Piaget called this process as equilibration. As the children progress through the stages of cognitive development, it is important to maintain a balance between applying previous knowledge, that's called assimilation, and even changing behavior to account for a new knowledge, accommodation. So equilibration helps the students. It helps the students to explain how children can move from one stage of thought into the next one. So the next concept is called the very greatest concept by Lev Vygotsky. This is called social constructivism. It states that the individual learns through social interaction, activities, and cultural tools. It holds that the knowledge is existed in the social environment and individual internalization through working together and even through interactions. The teacher's role is to be a collaborator, especially who participates with the children in constructing reality by engaging in open inquiry that elicits and addresses the students' conceptions. So social constructivism was developed, as just I told earlier, that it was developed by Lev Vygotsky, a very greatest psychologist from Soviet. This theory emphasizes that the collaborative nature of learning, social interaction plays a very fundamental role in the process of cognitive development. He states that every function in the child's cultural development appears twice. First on the social level and later on individual level. So first between what do you call inter psychological, that's called some people, the first people, that's called inter psychological, and then the inside the child, that is intra psychological. So this is the very theory of Vygotsky. So in my next period, let me discuss about the concept of 5U, that is a very constructive instructional model. It's called CIM, especially for the role of 5U lesson plans. Thank you very much. Have a nice time. Take care of yourself.